What if the very tools we designed to make our financial system stronger, more efficient, are actually the same things that are destined to tear it down? It's a really deep and unsettling paradox, and it's one that has played out again and again, from the trading floors of Wall Street to the decentralized world of crypto.
It's the central question, isn't it? How can the engine of progress, financial innovation, also be the seed of its own destruction? How can something so brilliant be so dangerous? Well, let's really get into it and try to unpack this.
Okay, so at its core, this is all about a fundamental tension. Think about it like this. A single driver discovers a clever shortcut home. For them, it's a brilliant, super efficient move. But what happens when thousands of other drivers find that same shortcut? Well, it creates a massive traffic jam, a gridlock that makes things worse for everyone. That, right there, is the innovator's paradox.
And here's the real kicker. The people who benefit from these new ideas are almost never the same people who have to pay the price when it all goes wrong. The innovators, they capture those immediate profits, but the risks? Oh, the risks are delayed, hidden, and then spread across the entire system for the rest of us to deal with.
Now, it's really easy to just paint a picture of greedy bankers and reckless tech bros. But the truth is, financial innovation isn't inherently evil. In fact, for a while, it's often an incredible force for good. I mean, just take the mortgage. That's a financial innovation, and it's allowed millions of people to own their own homes. Or think about the simple credit card. It's made it so much easier for people everywhere to access credit when they need it. These are tools that genuinely improve lives and, push society forward. And the benefits aren't just personal. Look at this number. When companies can borrow money more cheaply, and we're talking a significant drop here, they can invest in new projects, they can hire more people, and they can grow the entire economy. This is the real, tangible power of financial innovation at its best. But we all know how this goes, right? Every boom seems to have a bust. And the bigger the boom, the more painful the bust. So what is the fatal flaw in this brilliant machine? To answer that, we have to turn to the work of one of the most important and maybe overlooked economists of the 20th century.
Hyman Minsky's financial instability hypothesis is an absolute game changer. It basically flips conventional wisdom completely on its head. He argued that long periods of calm, of prosperity, they don't make the system safer. No, they do the exact opposite.
This is his most famous line: stability is destabilizing. Think of it like a forest that hasn't had a fire in a really long time. It might look peaceful, it might seem totally safe, but all of that dry wood and undergrowth is just building up, waiting for a single spark. In the exact same way, a long period of economic stability creates this false sense of security. We forget what risk feels like. We take on more and more debt. Minsky saw it as this inevitable three-act play. We start out cautious with what he called hedge financing. You can pay back both the principal and the interest. But then, as confidence grows, we move to speculative financing, where you can only afford the interest. And finally, in a frenzy of euphoria, we hit Ponzi financing, where you're borrowing just to pay off old debts. It's completely unsustainable. And financial innovation is the gasoline on that fire, pushing us through the stages way too fast. And if you want to see Minsky's theory play out in the real world, you don't have to look any further than the 2008 financial crisis. I mean, it is a textbook, absolutely devastating example of how stability and innovation can lead to a catastrophic collapse. The key innovation back then was a process called securitization. So imagine you're a baker. If you have to eat any cakes you don't sell, you're going to be really careful about how many you bake. But what if you could sell every single cake to a wholesaler, no matter what? Well, you'd stop worrying about leftovers. You'd just start baking as many cakes as you possibly could, as fast as you could. That's exactly what banks started doing with mortgages. It became this wild game of financial Jenga. Bad mortgages were bundled together, then those bundles were sliced up and rebundled, and then rebundled again. I mean, look at that number, on average almost 5 times. Each new layer made the tower look taller and more sophisticated, but it just made it more and more precarious. And nobody had any idea which block would be the one to bring the whole thing crashing down. And as you can see, the result was a bubble of absolutely epic proportions. This market, for what we now know were toxic assets, became a central pillar of the global economy. And like all bubbles, it was just waiting to pop. So you'd think that after 2008, we would have learned our lesson, right? But history has this funny way of repeating itself. Right now, as we speak, we're seeing the exact same patterns of risk and speculation play out, just in a different arena: the world of cryptocurrency and decentralized finance, or DeFi. It's really the same old story, just with a new cast of characters. Look at the parallels here. Instead of complex legal documents hiding all the risk, now we have complex computer code. And instead of worrying about one big bank failing, the new threat is an entire digital ecosystem shattering all at once. You know, back in the day, a financial crisis would unfold over weeks, maybe months. But in the digital age, it can happen in the blink of an eye. The 2010 flash crash is just this chilling reminder of how fast things can spin out of control when you have algorithms making decisions at the speed of light. 1,000-point drop and recovery in minutes. And the new threat has a new name: composability. Think of the DeFi world like a giant set of Legos. Each new protocol is a new block that clicks into the others. You can build these incredible, towering structures. But it also means that if one of those little Lego blocks at the bottom has a flaw, the entire structure built on top of it can instantly collapse.
So this brings us to the big question. Are we just doomed to repeat these mistakes over and over again? This cycle of brilliant innovation followed by spectacular collapse. Is there any way to actually break it? Or is this just an unwinnable game? Well, look, we can't put the innovation genie back in the bottle, and we probably wouldn't want to. But we can learn to manage it better. And that means creating a regulatory system that's just as dynamic and adaptable as the markets themselves. It's about being proactive, not reactive. It's about building in resilience to withstand the shocks that we know are going to come. Ultimately, it's a delicate dance, isn't it? A constant balancing act between progress and peril. The real goal isn't to stop innovation dead in its tracks. It's to find a way to manage this self-defeating cycle where our own success creates the very conditions for our next failure. So that leaves us with this final massive question. If stability itself, the very thing we're all trying to achieve, is the seed of the next crisis, then what does true financial safety even look like? Maybe the answer is that we need to be bold enough to keep dreaming of a better future, but also humble enough to recognize the incredible risks that always come along for the ride. It is a tightrope walk, and the stakes really couldn't be any higher.